We are coming towards the end of FIFA 22 as we do only have 3 months until the release of FIFA 23. And in that time, there's a few things worth doing before the whole cycle starts again. But before we do get into the video, if you're looking to get some very easy coins for FIFA 22, then there is no better place than Mule Factory. Head over there to get yourself some cheap, fast coins, completely reliable, and if you use Fnatic 5 at checkout, you'll also get yourself a 5% discount. Link can be found in the description down below. Getting back into the video. Towards the end of FIFA, I always go through the exact same cycle. This is just because the game gets kind of boring, there's not really too much to do, and even with the re-release content that does happen, well, it is re-release content. Really, any hype during this stage is all pointed to the very next FIFA, being FIFA 23, where we get to start fresh on its release, and we'll have much better gameplay at the beginning. But of course, we can't play FIFA 23 until it is released, which is late September, beginning of October. So this is why there's a few things worth doing now within FIFA 22, and once it's all done, you'll probably never play this game again. So the first thing is that even though it is coming towards the end, I'm still trading. The cool thing about FIFA during this phase is that you can trade to 100k, and 100k will be able to buy a lot more now than what it was able to buy months or even at the very beginning of FIFA 22. 100,000 coins can get you an incredibly good team for what is just 100k. It's really not too much in the grand scheme of things and really doesn't take anyone too long, whether it is through trading, which is what I recommend, or whether it is being through playing matches. You can get some very good players out of this. If you're really not sure of your options, you can just head over to a FIFA database such as FUTWiz or FUTBin. Make sure that all the filters are open except for the price tag, the maximum price being 100,000 coins, and you can see exactly what that can get you. You could honestly start looking at some of these players just to play and experiment with. Buy a team for 1 week, sell everything, and then buy a completely new team the following week, still experimenting with different types of players. And these players aren't low rated. You can get players like Berardi, which is the 96 rated team of the season. Of course, still not the highest rated player within the game and still hasn't got the best stats ever, but they're still insane stats. 98 pace, 95 shooting, 96 passing, 99 dribbling, 50 defending, and 84 physical. This being with 4-star, 4-star as well. Of course, as you go through this and you get all the way down to 10, 20k for special cards, they're really not going to be any good and probably not worth your time, but definitely the top of this list where you can get loads of different players, it's worth going through. It's worth trying out some of these players. So trading is still my #1 priority. I'm still able to trade on a weekly basis. It's not as much as what I was doing at the beginning, but whatever coins I do go and get, it's going a hell of a lot further than the coins I was able to get at the beginning of the year. The next thing that I'm doing, and this kind of links to what I just mentioned, is experimenting with different types of players. Now, that previous point where I talked about trading to 100k and looking to players, that was just to show you how far 100,000 coins can currently go within FIFA 22. And as time goes on and we get closer to the release of FIFA 23, those player prices will continue to go down. But there are also players that I currently have within my club that I've never used before. I was able to pack them at some point throughout the year, but because they didn't fit within my team, I simply stored them to my club in hopes that I can use them for SBCs, never used them for SBCs, and they just ended up staying within my club. This is now the time that I'm taking to actually go through to see exactly what I have. I will be experimenting with those players, whether it be special cards and high rated players, or whether or not we're going to just go down to rare gold. It really doesn't matter. I'm just interested and just want to have fun with this game. So I'm going through and I'm going to be playing with loads of different players that interest me. They don't need to be the highest rated. I just want to look at that card and think, it might be interesting to go and use them within a team in a different position or try out a different formation. So I'm going to try them out. But just so that I can get the most out of my club and everything that I've been able to build, if I test out a player and they end up being awful and it ends up being a tradable player or someone that I can use for an SBC, there's no point of me keeping them within my club. If they're tradable, I'm going to sell them on, claim the coins and use those coins to try out other types of players. If it's an untradable player, I'm going to throw them into SBCs to hopefully get packs which I can open, or I'm going to submit them in player SBC, so at least I'm getting something out of it. There is honestly no point of me keeping anything that I'm just not going to use, and this does mainly look towards players as I will be experimenting and trying out different teams, but it also does go over to consumables, and this is something that I mentioned before. There's a lot of consumables that I've been able to build up throughout the year, and at the beginning of the year I needed them. But because we're at this point where I'm no longer going through FUTChampions, for me it's not a game mode that I enjoy. It was always something that I forced myself to go through because I did want to go and get all the crazy rewards and be able to build my ultimate team, but because that isn't my goal anymore, there's no real reason for me to go through FUTChampions. I'm not a particularly good player, it's stressful for me, and I just cannot stand the gameplay, especially once we get to Sundays, which is when I spend most of my time playing. So if I'm not playing as many games as what I once was, I don't need my consumables as much as what I once did. So I'm also taking the time to go through and getting rid of any of the stuff that I'm just never going to use. Contracts, different types of consumables, chemistry styles, whatever it is, I'm sending that over to the transfer list and I'm listing it onto the transfer market. Yeah, again, hoping to get back as many coins as possible where I can use those coins to try out different types of players. This is honestly what I'll be doing for the next 2 months. Now, I'm not saying that you need to do exactly this is just what I'm doing. I recommend looking at the gameplay features that you enjoy the most. If you're the complete opposite to me, where you don't enjoy trading but you enjoy playing matches, don't spend as much time trading and instead play through different types of game modes. Build up your coin balance that way, and then you can still use those coins to experiment with different types of players. The choice is entirely up to you. Now this for me is going to be happening over the next 2 months from this point. But once we get into the final month of FIFA 22, September, this is where I get ready for what is going to be the end. This is the point in which I buy all the players that I have enjoyed playing the most with throughout the year. So during that experimental phase, when I was trying out players, if there was a player that I really enjoyed using, I will not get rid of them, I'll store them to my club. But likewise, I'll also think back to all the teams that I've built throughout the year, and if there is any players that I did enjoy, I will buy them back at their cheapest possible point just to store them into my club. There's also some players where I don't look at from a gameplay perspective. If there is a player that I just enjoy watching in real life, think they're absolutely amazing, I will probably just buy their card and store them to my club. It's not about how good of a player they are in FIFA, whether or not they fit the meta. They could be a bronze player, I'll buy them and still store them into my club. It really doesn't matter. The reason that I always do this is because at some point within the future, I probably will come back to FIFA 22. Now I know for 99% of you guys watching this video, you probably won't ever do this. Most players, as soon as a FIFA ends, they move on to the next and they never come back to the previous one. But for me, it's always been the case at this time of the year, I'll download previous FIFAs just to see what I was able to build in previous Ultimate Teams, and I'll just give it a go. I'll play for a couple days just to try out what I had within my account. I guarantee at some point within the future, I don't know when it's going to be, but I will come back to FIFA 22 and I will want to play with players. And when that happens, I normally go into the transfer market only to realize that there's nothing available. I will search for special cards with there not even being one on the transfer market. I would look for the highest rated players. There's nothing available. So I'm stuck to a couple thousand live transfers that are currently there on the transfer market, and it's never good. But of course, this is understandable because that isn't the current FIFA. That's a FIFA from a couple years ago. And of course, there isn't as many people playing. So I like to stack my club to have all of my favorite players so that once I do come back in the future, I can just build the teams from what I currently have on my account rather than needing the transfer list. And if I buy all of these players and there's still quite a lot of coins left over, that is where I go out with a bang and I do a massive pack opening. No matter how many coins I have on the account, I will go through as many packs as possible just to see what I'm able to get. Now, every time that I've done a coin pack opening, it never works out well. In fact, it doesn't even need to be a coin pack opening. Every single pack opening that I've had this year, I've been screwed over. I never get anything good. And it will likely be the exact same story by the time it comes towards my end of year pack opening, but it's still something that I do so that I have the players that I enjoy the most, which I bought personally for my club, and also whatever type of player that I can get from these packs also gets stored into my club, ready for me to come back to in the future. There's honestly no point having millions of coins in your account because, well, it doesn't cross over to the next FIFA, and even if you were to come back at a later date, as previously mentioned, there's nothing worth of value on the transfer market anyway, so you're not really going to be able to use those coins to buy anything. So the pack opening just to end the year is always something that I've done personally, just because there's no real reason for you to keep those coins. But anyway guys, here are just a few things that I'll be doing from this point all the way to the end of FIFA 22. This is just a little tradition that I have myself as I go through the exact same cycle every single year. If there's something in particular that you're looking to do with FIFA 22 before it ends, let me know in the comment section down below. But anyway guys, I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did enjoy it, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. But for now, I'm going to see ya.